Welcome back to Page of Strange, the place where ordinary days turn into nightmares and the truth hides in the shadows. I'm glad you are here with me today. On a bright summer morning in Winnipeg, Manitoba, a 57-year-old grandmother laced up her hiking boots, stepped out her front door, and headed out for a walk she had done many times before. She was training for the adventure of a lifetime, a multi-day hike on British Columbia's legendary West Coast Trail with her brother. She never made it home. What happened to Thelma Krull in those quiet streets near Civic Park? Why did her glasses and phone end up scattered in the grass while she was forcibly taken away? And how did her remains end up more than 50 kilometers away in a remote wounded area 3 years later? This is not just another missing person story. This is a case of broad daylight violence, a stranger abduction, a body deliberately hidden in the wilderness, and a killer who more than a decade later has never been caught. Today on Page of Strange, we are diving deep into every verified detail of Thelma Krull's disappearance and homicide. We will walk through her final morning, the shocking evidence police uncovered, the eerie composite sketch, the significance of that distant dump site, and why Winnipeg police are still begging for answers in 2026 and beyond. If you have any information about this case, I will give you the official tips line at the end. For now, settle in because this is the strange and tragic story of Thelma Krull. It was July 11th, 2015, a Saturday morning in Winnipeg. The sun was already up, the air warm and full of promise. At 7:23 a.m., 57-year-old Thelma Krull left her home in the grassy boulevard area of the city. She was dressed for movement, a bright red or orange t-shirt, three-quarter length black capri-style pants, a black fanny pack around her waist, and tan or brown hiking style boots or shoes. Her short dyed blonde hair had a distinctive purple streak, something her friends and family would immediately recognize. Thelma wasn't just out for any work, she was an active, healthy grandmother who had been training rigorously all summer. In just a few weeks, she planned to tackle the West Coast Road in British Columbia with her older brother, a challenging multi-day backcountry hike. Her morning walks were serious training sessions. She took different routes, explored pathways and trails around the city, and stayed fit. On this particular morning, she headed towards the Civic Park and Caledonian East Collegiate area in the Valley Gardens neighborhood. She arrived in the park area around 8 a.m. and then she vanished. Investigations later recovered several of Thelma's personal items right there in that park area, including her glasses and her mobile phone. Something violent had clearly happened. Winnipeg police would later state publicly and repeatedly that Thelma was involved in a physical altercation with a male and was forcibly taken from the area. She didn't wander off, she didn't get lost on the trail. Someone attacked her and removed her against her will. A possible sighting only added to the horror. Police received a tip that Thelma was seen in the company of a heavy-set man near Kimberley Avenue and Gray Street, or in the broader Kimberley and Gateway Road area, and that she appeared to be in distress. That sighting became the basis for a composite sketch released by police in July 2017, 2 years after she disappeared. The man in the sketch is described as being in his 40s, approximately 5'6" to 5'8" tall, and weighing around 270 pounds. He had a large stomach, a chubby face, and dark hair styled in a distinctive bowl cut across the forehead, or he may have been wearing a dark-colored skull cap or beanie. Police believe this man either lived in the immediate area or had easy access to the residents of buildings nearby. They think Thelma was taken to a vehicle, a home, or another structure very close to where the altercation occurred. Thelma was a stranger to her attacker. Police have stated she was killed by someone unknown to her. For 3 long years, Thelma's family, her husband Robert, her children, her grandchildren, her brother, and her wide circle of friends lived in agonizing limbo. They organized community work, including a jog your memory event, leading with someone who might have seen something that morning to come forward. The case received media attention. Tips came in, but Thelma remained missing. Then, on October 27, 2018, everything changed. A hunter in a remote wooded area in southeast of Winnipeg made a grim discovery. The remains were found in the rural municipality of Taché, east of Highway 12 and north of Highway 1, roughly 50 kilometers from where Thelma was last seen. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Thelma Krull. Winnipeg police immediately classified the case as a homicide. The location of the remains is considered highly significant by investigators. The area is desolate, wooded and isolated amid the prairie landscape. Police believe the person who left her there was familiar with that specific spot, someone who lives, works, or has some other legitimate reason to be in that rural municipality. It was not a random dump site chosen in panic. It was a place the killer knew the physical altercation at Civil Park had been the beginning of the end. Thelma fought. Evidence was left behind, but the killer succeeded in taking her, ending her life, and then transporting her body a significant distance to a place he felt confident would hide what he had done. Despite the thousands of hours of investigative work by the Winnipeg Police Service and the RCMP, despite hundreds of tips from the public, and despite the release of that distinctive composite sketch, the case remains unsolved. As recently as July 11, 2025, the 10th anniversary of Thelma's disappearance, Winnipeg Police issued a fresh public plea to their historical homicide unit. They thanked the community for the tips received over the decade, but stated clearly that the investigation is still active and open. They continue to believe the answer is out there. The strange and disturbing element of this case continue to haunt anyone who studies it. How does a woman vanish in broad daylight from a familiar neighborhood, park while out for a routine walk? Why was she targeted? Was it truly random, or did the killer have some other connection investigators have not yet uncovered? How was her body moved that far without drawing attention? And why has no one, not a neighbor, not a friend, not someone who recognized the man in that bold cop sketch, come forward with the final piece of the puzzle? Thelma Krull was not a young woman walking alone at night in a dangerous area. She was a vibrant 57-year-old grandmother training for an exciting adventure with her brother, doing something she loved on a beautiful summer morning in her own city. Her bright red, orange shirt and purple streaked hair should have made her stand out to anyone who saw her that day. Someone out there knows what happened in those minutes after 8 a.m. on July 11, 2015. Someone knows who the man in the sketch is. Someone knows why that particular wooded area in Taché was chosen. And someone, perhaps more than one person, has stayed silent for over 10 years. Thelma Krull's story is one of those cases that stays with you. A normal morning, a simple walk, a life full of plans and family and upcoming adventures, stolen in broad daylight, and more than a decade later, her killer still walks free. Winnipeg police and Thelma's family have never stopped asking for answers. If you knew anything at all, about what happened to Thelma on July 11, 2015, or if you recognize the man in that composite sketch, please come forward. You can contact the Winnipeg Police Historical Homicide Unit directly at 204-986 6051 or call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 204-786 TIPS 8477 or submit a tip online at winnipegcrimestoppers.org. Even the smallest detail could be the one that finally brings justice. If this case moved you, please do three things. Like this video, subscribe to Page of Strange for more deep dives into the mysterious and unsolved, and share this episode. Keeping Thelma's story in the public eye matters. Thank you for spending this time with me today and for treating this story and Thelma's memory with the respect it deserves. I'll see you in the next strange chapter. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe out there.